Are you looking for an ad management solution that offers industry leading RPMs while also not compromising on site speed or user experience and has a lower page view or session threshold than the traditional Mediavine or Raptive premium ad networks? If so, Journey by Mediavine may be just the right program for you. My name is Casey, and I'm the founder of bloggingguide.com. In this video, I'll take you through a brand new case study of mine. This is one of my sites, which I had launched about 6 months ago, and it was recently accepted as part of the beta program into Journey by Mediavine. While I only have 1 day of earnings data from the very end of April to showcase so far, I can walk you through what the program is, the application requirements, and show you a little bit about the user interface so that you can decide if Journey is the right fit for you. I'll be providing these updates going forward once per month. So, what is Journey? Journey by Mediavine is Mediavine's newest ad management solution. And basically, this is a new offering for websites with traffic starting at around 10,000 sessions per month. I say starting at around 10,000 sessions per month because this site, the site that was recently accepted into the Journey beta program, was accepted with 7,500 sessions approximately. So the 10,000 sessions is not a firm minimum, unlike, say, the 50,000 that are required for the normal tier of Mediavine. And what do you actually get with Journey? Well, basically, it's sort of similar to the standard Mediavine. You get all the sort of advantages. You get sort of the industry leading ad settings. You get access to their exclusive plugins, first party data solutions, and basically, yeah, they'll run display ads on your website and you get paid every month for those. And the nice thing is that, as many people with Mediavine know, Mediavine does a really good job with site speed. So that's a big reason why people use Mediavine over another ad network, say like Zoic, which really clutters your site and slows it down. So the whole theory behind this new offering is basically that, yeah, you can get into Mediavine and start joining the Mediavine ecosystem earlier in your journey as a blogger. And along the way, as we transition away from third party cookies, Mediavine also, through Journey, is able to promote the use of their tool Grow, which is designed specifically to collect first party data. The application requirements for Journey by Mediavine are pretty straightforward. There are three main things that I found when looking through the documentation and applying myself. Basically, you need to meet first the traffic threshold, which is roughly 10,000 sessions per month. Second, you have to run Grow on your blog for at least 30 days. Note, a lot of people I've seen on various forums complaining that they've run Grow for 30 days, but complaining they haven't been accepted to Journey. That's you need to run it for at least 30 days to be considered. Lots of people use Grow and they've only accepted a few hundred people into this initial beta. So running Grow alone for even several months is not a guarantee that you'll be accepted. And then third, you basically just need to formally apply through the Grow portal. So once you've had your 30 days of data collection, you'll basically see an option in the Grow dashboard to formally apply. And Mediavine will then change your status to analyzing and reviewing your data. And eventually, if you're accepted, you'll receive an email and you'll see a notification in your portal. Here, I'm just showing you a quick comparison of how Journey compares to both the standard Mediavine offering as well as some of the other popular alternatives. So basically, you can see the networks I compared were Journey, standard Mediavine, Raptive, She Media, Monumetric, and then just standard Google AdSense. For Journey, you need about 10,000 sessions, and the only real other requirement is 30 days of using Grow. For standard Mediavine, there's a couple nuances, and you can check out my other videos if you have questions about that. But generally, you need at least 50,000 sessions for a first site. And generally, you're going to need at least 40% of tier one traffic. That's traffic from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. Similarly, for Raptive, you need about 100,000 page views and usually at least 50% tier one traffic. She Media is slightly more flexible in that there's sort of a roughly 20,000 page view traffic requirement. They don't have a stated amount of tier one traffic, but generally, like the others, it should be probably a majority of your traffic. Similarly, Monumetric requires at least 10,000 page views and 50% tier one traffic. And then, sort of the lowest in terms of requirements is just plain Google AdSense. And there's really no formal requirements for Google AdSense. Informally, sites are generally 6 to 12 months at least in age. You can't be typically approved before 4 months at this point, and you can't have any prior issues with AdSense. So if you've done anything sketchy or been blacklisted or banned, you're going to run into that issue. And since almost all of these networks work with Google Ad Exchange, basically, if you have a problem with AdSense, you're probably going to have trouble getting monetized with any of these other networks as well. But this is just sort of a high level comparison. Obviously, Journey brings down the traffic requirement significantly. And while they haven't stated so, I would say it's possible that it might also be a little more flexible on the exact countries of origin or session duration or distribution of traffic per page. Some of the other less defined but definitely notable requirements typically associated with Mediavine. Now I'll take you through the onboarding process really quickly, just because this is actually where the programs are quite different. Mediavine, if you've gone through that process, there's a lot of back and forth with the application. You need to get it approved by both Mediavine's internal team as well as another team of external advertisers, a whole bunch of things. The journey process is pretty straightforward. It's all self-supported. So if you need a lot of hand holding or you've never monetized a site, you might find it a little confusing. But Mediavine's also just starting this, so I'm sure the documentation will improve. In fact, just as I was applying, I had a few questions about an error I was encountering. And on the community forum, Mediavine was quick to respond with basically a solution to a technical glitch several of us had. But basically, yeah, on the left, you'll see that's the email you'll get, the Hey Casey email, when I was eligible, which was at the very end of April. And the image on the right is also what you'll see in your actual Grow account. So this is either one of these will notify you basically that you've been approved and you can start the onboarding process. So the next steps are pretty simple. You basically just need to verify your email, provide Mediavine with some contact information, and if you haven't already, you need to add the Grow plugin to your WordPress website. Now, I know you're thinking, well, I need Grow for 30 days before I actually apply, and that's true, you do. But Grow can run as just basically like a little script that you insert into your site without having the full plugin. So for me, I had to add the plugin. And once you go through and complete a couple simple steps, you'll see this screen on the right, which basically tells you that Journey's successfully been integrated. And good reminder, just clear all your caches after setting this up. And you need to remove any code snippets or any other ad management plugins that you maybe previously used with another ad network. The next step is to add your ad script from your Journey profile. So basically, you want to go into either grow and copy the few lines of code manually, as seen in the screenshot below, or you can just add the grow plugin in WordPress and sync your web-based account with your WordPress account. This is what I did, and this is probably the easiest way to just set up your Journey ad script. The other thing you need to do is complete your payment profile information. Just a couple of things of note. Mediavine pays on a net 65 basis, meaning they pay 65 days after the last month reported. So, for example, for anything I earned in the month of April of 2024, I would get paid on July 5th, 2024, as that's 65 days later. There's a $100 payout minimum. This doesn't mean that you lose your payout if it's less than that. The payments will basically just accrue and roll over each month until they reach that minimum, at which point you'll get paid via Tipalti, who's Mediavine's standard payment partner. Here's a screenshot of my dashboard. You can see it says welcome Casey Botticello at the top. It gives you basically like a running count of how much you've earned this month. So you can see for the site, I've earned $9.71. Again, this is for the first few days of April. So I wouldn't expect the amount to be very high. And yeah, as I'll get into, this is during the ramp up period. But basically, yeah, this is the dashboard. So it looks a little different. You can look at my other videos if you want to see what the standard Mediavine dashboard looks like. But actually, this is still a pretty useful dashboard. Yes, I prefer the standard Mediavine one a bit more because it has more details and kind of detailed analytics. But in a lot of ways, that overcomplicates things. Really, this dashboard's nice because it's pretty straightforward. You see your earnings, your RPM, the CPM, impressions, and that's the number of ad impressions, not any other metric, and then the number of sessions. So really, these are the main pieces of data you need. You don't need like a series of convoluted graphs to understand the like ratio or relationship between them. As you'll notice, so and a lot of people are probably curious about this. This site again is in its ramp up period, and for Journey, Mediavine said to expect it to take like a full 30 days. So I'll definitely provide you an update uh, when I do my month 2 of this case study. But just in like the first literally couple days, as expected, the RPM starting relatively low, around $4. So that's $4 for every 1,000 page views. So you can see, yeah, it's pretty good. Um, uh, I had this site. Well, this site actually hadn't even been. This site, well, it was on AdSense for a little while, and very briefly, and this site was getting something. I think when I calculated it, it was closer to like $1 or $2 RPM. So I've actually already increased this significantly, but I would I think this will go significantly higher. If I had to guess, this will probably be at least in the $7 to $10 range, which is pretty good. It's not what most of my Mediavine sites are, but I also know that the niche I picked for this site is not as lucrative as some of my others, which were in technology niches, which can have really high RPMs. The most important thing here is that it's easy to understand your earnings. It's easy to track what's happening. So as I noted, technically I do have a first month's earnings because I didn't even realize this at first, but because I managed to get it set up before the beginning of May, technically there was like about 1 day that I ran ads. And again, this is during the ramp up period. So RPMs are going to be very low, but so this should be a negligible amount. And it was 51 cents. But that's just to give you a starting point and to show you kind of what the earning screenshots will probably look like going forward. So now I'll give you just a little bit of info about the actual site itself that was approved, because I'm sure people are wondering if there's certain types of sites that get accepted, and if so, why. And while I can't answer all those questions because I don't have enough data yet, and there's only a pretty small amount of sites accepted so far, I can just tell you what I know based on my own site's experience. So the site had over 500 posts. So this wasn't like even though it was a relatively new site, it was a site that I aggressively sort of published content on for the first few months. Uh, the content was all long form content, original, like custom images. So basically, it wouldn't be old enough nor have the traffic or any of that to get accepted into the standard Mediavine program, but it's really the same type of content that I produce when trying to get a site onto Mediavine, and I have several on there currently. The site was less than 1 year old, which I thought was really interesting because that means this is basically still a fairly new site. So it's nice to know that, you don't also have to go through like, some programs might require it to be, closer to a year old. The fact that, yeah, you can get away with something in about half that time tells me that they're really looking at the data that they gleaned from Grow as opposed to just relying on some arbitrary metric like the age of the site. And as far as kind of some details on the site's traffic, about 76% of traffic came from tier 1 countries from organic search. And I think 90 plus percent of the overall traffic was organic search. The remainder was a little bit of direct traffic and then a tiny bit of social media traffic, because I do have some related Facebook experiments going on with this. But honestly, this is a pretty standard site for me in that it's going to be mostly search traffic, organic search traffic so far. Probably most of note is this site was definitely hit in the recent March 2024 Google update, as you can see from the graph. So it had a nice trajectory, and had it not got crushed, at a few months down the road, it may have been, eligible for the regular Mediavine program. But that's why I think the Grow program is a big deal, and this whole journey, interim step or threshold is basically if you have sites that are somewhere in between, 1,000 and 50,000 sessions, which is where most sites are, this really gives you something that's pretty realistic to shoot for. Getting to about 10,000 sessions is not impossible. I think there are definitely sites that, even if executed well, the total addressable traffic is probably only like 20 to 40,000 sessions realistically if it's a very hyper niche site. And Ones that are bigger than that tend to be more competitive. So if you have millions of potential searches per month, you know, it's going to take you years to rank for some of those, or a lot of backlinks. So I really think this is a great offering. And yeah, really couldn't come at a better time, because a lot of people like me, although I had some sites that are surviving or even thriving during the updates, if you have a site that got hit, you still have a shot, because this site was hit well before the site was actually accepted. So I was genuinely surprised that Mediavine approved this site, because I use Grow on pretty much all my sites, and I have a few sites with higher traffic than this. So obviously they're looking at other metrics, maybe the countries of origin. That's why I posted that chart. Maybe they're looking purely at the Grow specific data. So like how many people are liking your posts or are engaging with your post through the auto mailer feature. There's all sorts of data that's unique to that first party data collection effort. So, a little more about the site, just because I think this will be much more common going forward, given how volatile Google's become. While my site did get crushed in the Google update, obviously Google doesn't literally have 100% of the market share of search traffic. And while it has a large, arguably monopolistic sort of role in the search universe, it's not the only player. So, as you can see, what really happened and why I was still probably able to be accepted was, even though my Google traffic dropped significantly, I was able to hang on and actually get even more traffic with Bing. So this was over like a 3 or 4 month period that this data is showing. But I'm just trying to give you a sense of, you know, the traffic composition. So you can see Google comes in at number 2 at 10,000. Number 1 is Bing with 11,000 users. Uh, Direct or not attributed is 3,000. Both DuckDuckGo and Yahoo are also 3 and 2,000 respectively. So, I mean, this is also just a good reminder that, Google traffic is not everything. And whether you're driving traffic from social media or you're getting it from other search channels, that won't impact you adversely if you apply to a program like Journey by Mediavine. Obviously, that was the number one traffic source here during the time that Mediavine was considering this application. So I'm sure you're wondering why I think this site got accepted. As I noted, I had sites running Grow, and they also met the 30-day requirement easily, but they had more traffic, but they weren't accepted as part of this first round of the beta program. So my theory on why maybe this site in particular and some of the others that I've seen got accepted, I think that even though they say at least 30 days, realistically, because these sites don't have a lot of traffic, it's going to probably take a few months of Grow data to basically have enough insight to make this call, from like an advertiser, perspective. My guess is that this site did have a bit disproportionately high Grow engagement. I noticed lots of people saving posts and a few shares. And my guess is that the first party data opt in has largely been successful. And I know Mediavine is going to be adding more ways to view that in the Grow dashboard in the coming months. So, second, I think I legitimately was approaching the 10,000 sessions. As I said, even though my site was hit by the Google update, basically right around the same time Bing traffic took off. So I didn't actually drop that far below it at any point. But it's just one other reason, why this site might have been accepted. It also had a high percentage of tier one traffic. A lot of my sites actually don't tend to be 76% or whatever. They're closer to 50. So my guess is that, if, and this is true with most ad networks, if you have a site that's at least 70% tier one traffic, you're probably going to get accepted if you meet all the other stated, requirements. That's a pretty safe number, especially if at least 50% of that's US traffic. Those are going to be decent RPMs. And just diving into the data, trying to find something that stands out about this site. One thing I noticed, which is something I tried to do on all my sites, but this seemed pronounced on this one, was the relatively large amount of desktop traffic. And as you can see, when comparing desktop, mobile, and tablet, you have a little less than 1,000 people using tablet, 12,000 on mobile devices, and 21,000 on desktop. So a significant amount of desktop traffic. And as a ratio, that's sort of the inverse of the typical 70 to 80% of web traffic that goes to a site via mobile device. So this is the opposite, where it's got a 70, 80% just from the desktop devices. As to why that matters, desktop devices tend to result in much higher RPMs. And if Mediavine's making a decision as your ad network, they have to kind of consider the types of ads they can run and the placements available. So I'm sure it wasn't a major factor, but just one of many factors that probably led to this site getting accepted. I hope you found this review of Journey by Mediavine useful. I know I was very curious about this program, so I consider myself very fortunate to have been one of the 200 in this first beta program selection. I do think they'll be sending out a lot more invitations soon, but it takes a while to work out all the kinks in any new ad network. But from what I can tell so far, Journey's basically delivering on its promise. And it was by far the easiest ad setup I've ever done across any of my 40 some active sites. If you like these type of videos and want to see where my earnings go and how the site performs once it's actually gone through its first 30-day ramp up period, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be providing updates on this site and some of my other Mediavine sites. And if you just want to learn more about blogging in general, check out my website, bloggingguide.com. You can also, on the website, find a link to schedule a one-on-one call with me if you need any help with your blog. And if you just want to follow me on social media, I'm pretty much available on every platform at Casey Botticello. Thanks and have a great day.